Hello everyone, it's Oliver Harper here, and today I'm joined by author Mark O'Connell to discuss Poltergeist. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm all right. I'm up for this haunting. I've heard good things about this film.
We are recording this on Halloween, so hopefully I can get it published tonight for my patrons. If not, it'll be out tomorrow. Who cares? You know, if it's a bit late, it's still a classic movie.
It's a fall movie anyway. It's not a Halloween movie. It's a fall movie.
Exactly.
That's American for autumn, by the way.
Okay, everyone, if you wish to sync this commentary with your own copy of the film, put the timestamp to 0 and press play now. Now, Mark, did you see this back in the cinemas back in the day, or was it later on VHS?
I was 6.5, and even the British exhibitors weren't letting 6.
This was a 15 then, wasn't it?
Yeah,
in the UK?
I first saw it. It was on TV. I don't think it was the first time it was on TV, and I saw it. I know exactly when it was. It was Christmas or New Year. I want to say 86 or 87, and I was 10 or 11, and I remember watching it. My parents were really into it, and they said, "You've got to watch this movie." Although I don't think they'd seen it. I think they're just aware of it because there was that whole raft of movies that just our parents seemed to be very aware of, and Poltergeist was definitely one of them. And I remember thinking it was a really, really good film, even though it scared the bejesus out of me. And I was literally sharing bedroom with my parents for 2 or 3 nights after this.
Really?
Yeah. Because I also had a new telly in my room that would go to close down, and I would just fall asleep. And I had a golden retriever, so it was like all these sort of the Poltergeist tropes were falling into place. So yeah, I saw it on TV a little while after the fact.
I didn't see this. I think I saw the sequel first. Cause it was all my memory was about the kid and his braces coming out to attack him, and the old man who basically has the beast inside him is like sort of coming knocking on the door, and Carol Ann getting a phone call on their little toy phone.
That's right, yeah, with the water trickling onto it and setting it off.
Yeah, and then I saw this kind of later date. But also, he's still a kid, and it was one of those movies that was terrified a lot of people at the time. Obviously, it's quite tame now by today's standards.
I don't know. But we'll find out.
We'll see if it still works.
Yeah.
But there's still a good few moments that still are very effective in the movie.
And it's a whole. I'll have lots of thoughts on this, but this whole film is told through TV screens. I think that's partly why it hasn't aged too badly. I still think it's a very fresh film. Maybe that's just my fandom for it, but because it's all through TV screens, it just seems a lot more domestic and immediate. So you can sort of just watch it on anywhere. And we're already into the Spielberg tropes of golden retrievers pushing through doors, well-trained golden retrievers looking for treats that have been hidden under actors' faces. There you go, potato chips. And that's the tragic Dominique Dunn. Griffin's sister, by the way. Griffin Dunn's sister.
Yes. Well, she unfortunately was it shortly after this movie? She
wasn't long after. Yeah,
she was
strangled. Strangled by a boyfriend who I think sort of got a really lenient sentence. And her father was Dominic Dunn, who's a major sort of writer producer. Produced Friedkin's first feature movie, Boys in the Band, which is like a very famous and slightly controversial 60s gay play that Friedkin did a movie version of, and Dominic Dunn produced it.
Wow.
And he was also involved in the O.J. Simpson trials as well, because he didn't like the fact a daughter had been killed and the alleged perpetrator was about to get off. So that's a bit of Dominic Dunn. I was
never too much of a fan of the sort of strobing effect in this movie. It seems a little bit when she's when it happens again later on, when they're just before they fully arrive at the house, the sort of spirits jump through the wall. It's quite if you're quite sensitive to strobing effects, it will give you a headache.
I like it though. I like that sort of analog fuzz, that sort of post close down. I mean, close down, we don't have it anymore, but it used to be where literally the television would unwind. And in Britain, I think we did have the national anthem, and in the US they had the Star Spangled Banner. And television would go like it is right now, it'd just go fuzzy, which is always weird because I saw we might talk about it, but the remake, which it's okay as unnecessary remakes go, but they were trying to do this analog interference feed on modern day flat screen TVs. I'm like, they wouldn't be like that. But it's Spielberg doing his. Well, this
is the first horror Spielberg wrote, wasn't it? I think maybe the only one I think he's done that is a horror.
Yeah, I mean, I think E.T. is sort of a suburban horror as well, but sort of turned up on its upside. And Raiders, obviously, there's a lot of horror in the Indiana Jones or horror elements. But yeah, this is definitely his all-out horror. And one of the few times he's written the story on his own, and a couple of guys sort of co-wrote it with him.
This is obviously the building blocks of Richard Edlund's visual effects that would sort of pop up in Ghostbusters.
Yes, yeah.
And there was this kind of, I think the composer, it's Elmer Bernstein did Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
There's a kind of, he borrows a similar kind of style to Goldsmith with the sort of creepy ooh.
Yeah, it's that
sound,
sort of synth. It's E.T. and Close Encounters start with the same. It's almost like that. Is it Bendelecki? I can't remember the guy, the composer that Kubrick used a lot in Clockwork Orange. Yeah, that's sort of this.
Is it Wendy Carlos? Wendy Carlos did Clockwork, didn't she? Well, the lady who did Tron, she might have done.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, might have been additional work by someone else.
Here we are in Suburbanville.
Oh, no, because I just reviewed Halloween, the '78 one, which deals with suburbia and the sort of the threat of people get, the sort of the idealistic view of how America wanted people to live and the sort of family environment, and that threat coming into your house.
Yes,
is another movie that also deals with this that scenario. I think even to the extreme, really.
And that tree and this street, there's people that great location movie hunters that go up and compare the then and now, and that tree's still there in this street. I really want to go there. We're in, I think. The house is in Simi Valley, which is in California, but this is slightly somewhere different, I believe. They sort of cut and cheat it a bit, but look, I mean, it's that new build, that sort of tenor of these houses. That it's new builds, late 70s, sort of Republican era domesticity.
I also love how one of the guys, also the father's mate, is borrowed their kids' BMX to go get beer.
And then we're going to just get our remote control. I can't help thinking, but those 4 kids are probably really famous now or something. They're like sort of probably running Warner Brothers. I mean, a lot of people, and we'll probably go back and forth on this, but a lot of people say, Spielberg, it's more of a Spielberg movie than a Toby Hooper one.
Yeah, I think halfway into the movie we can probably decipher what we think is. But
already,
Stevens.
I don't feel Spielberg would repeat himself, because this is all very slightly E.T. Those low-lying shots of pavements and curbs is all over E.T. and Poltergeist. I don't believe Spielberg would want to make the same film twice, but with different endings.
Because Spielberg had written the script and storyboarded a lot of the movie, you could essentially say it is his film.
Yes,
but it's through the lens of through the eyes of Toby Hooper.
I think there's a lot more Toby Hooper in this than gets recognised, but we'll get to that.
So the old days when it's never happened to me, where someone next door's got the same remote, it's going to change your channel. The beauty of the early 90s was seeing those watches where you can change the channel with your watch, those digital watches.
Oh, okay.
Go outside, stand outside Boots and change all the channels with your watch.
Here we go, proper Spielberg bedroom, Star Wars bed sheets, and
a kid's got he's got 2 Star Wars posters. I think there's a Darth Vader poster, isn't there?
Yeah, he's got the Darth Vader at the background. He's got the collector's case.
This is 82, so he has one little piece of Empire Strikes Back memorabilia, which is the Yoda.
Oh, he's got more than that. I think there's like a Hoth gun turret, and there's a TIE fighter on the windowsill. Because when I was watching Skies, I was avidly scouring all the bedrooms and Spielberg movies to see the sort of in-jokes and Americana of it. Oh, there's Mr. Right. Tom Hanks is just about to do a movie about the guy that keeps cropping up on the TV station here.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Mr. Rogers, isn't it? Yeah. It's like he's dealing with Homer Simpson next door, isn't he?
It's interesting watching this in widescreen, as it should be, because I'm well used to the 4:3 version of this, and that
the butchered one.
These sequences always didn't make sense because they were always cut on either side.
It's interesting that after this movie came out, this kind of I presume it's come Poltergeist 3. The curse sort of was very much a discussion of the sort of tabloids and stuff.
Yeah, it's a great headline. I think it's just coincidence.
It is a coincidence.
If you've got,
it's just the same with The Omen as well, which has problems on set, and
and The Exorcist as well. If you've got that many people working and they've all got their own families and they've all got people related to them, there's going to be stuff that goes wrong and sad.
This happens to be because they're horror movies. Then it's a curse. You know?
No one ever says the curse of Dirty Dancing or
the curse of the Carry On.
Yeah, the curse of Carry On Emmanuel.
Who the hell would keep this horrible tree in their garden?
Yes.
As soon as you moved in, I said, I'm cutting that down because it's a super scary tree.
Well, because it looks like the tree from Poltergeist, but here it is, the tree from Poltergeist. We're getting all the dead things right now.
I love how the little clues sort of kick in, like the house is already kind of slightly haunted.
Yeah.
Because you could indicate that the bird has been killed by something. You know, you don't know if
there's definitely
something's gone
milling
wrong.
around. Yeah.
Because obviously it happens when the kid's glass breaks out from the bottom and then all his cutlery's all bent.
Really, really like Jo Beth Williams in this movie throughout, particularly the end. But she's
definitely a star performance. I think in this.
She's cut from that cloth of Spielberg.
Because she has a lot more to do though. Because the father, he's just he's more like just in shock throughout the entire thing. Doesn't know how to deal with it.
Well, very quickly, all the women of this film take over and take charge. Like you got Dr. Lesh, played by Beatrice Straight, coming in, and Stephen, the dad, at some point can't even get dressed without help because he's just sort of lost his mind with concern about what's happening. And the two, Dr. Lesh, Diane Freeling, and then later obviously Tangina Barrons. The three women just sort it all out almost because the men, even the paranormal investigators, they all bottle it and run for the California hills.
When things aren't slightly in reality, the men just, I'm getting out of it, But that's also there with the sign of the weather coming in.
Yeah.
They're sort of
that
kind of foreboding.
Cloud 80s cloud tank foreboding.
Very Ghostbusters too, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Yeah. I love... Jo Beth Williams was like 33 when she made this movie. And I don't know what age the character's meant to be, but I like the sort of suggestion that maybe Jo Beth Williams had a slight teenage pregnancy and had the older daughter first, because the ages don't quite... If she's meant to be 15, 16, then maybe that's almost as old as Jo Beth Williams was when she had her. And I like that they've brought that in, and then there's a gap between the other two. It also gives an excuse to sort of sideline her, so to keep the concentration on the two younger ones. There's that bastard clown.
Who would buy that for their child?
I know.
Who
would also buy... Look at that headstead on that bed there. That is just chintz-tastic.
He's reading Captain America.
Begging to be pulled into the closet there.
It's interesting in the moment when you see the parents kind of sort of relaxing, basically smoking pot.
Reading Reagan biographies.
Yeah. They seem like it's kind of... Because they're smoking pot, they're quite liberal kind of family, but then he's sort of reading this Reagan book, sort of the new sort of change in power in politics.
Well, Reagan at the time was pushing the big, family matters. He was sort of pushing that, and the 2.4 family and all of that quite vociferously.
Maybe because he's reading it because of work, because he's part of this real estate build.
The great irony of this is President Reagan is buried in Simi Valley, which is the town where they filmed this film. I think obviously they won't move the headstones and build a development on top of his grave.
Back.
But I always like that sort of irony that he's buried, because they're quite anti-Republican. Spielberg movies tend to quietly be anti-Republican, and even though they're made in sort of key Republican eras, E.T. likewise. That's...
Oh, he has got
Oliver
a few
Robbins.
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, he's got a
stuff
taunt on at the back there, and a Han Solo, and...
See, look, I emailed Mark the other day saying, look, why has that kid got an Alien poster? That shouldn't really be
It's
there.
her favourite film.
Yes, it's her
And a Darth Vader one, yeah. I don't know, maybe they're just courting H.R. Geiger to do some effects for the next film. It is a bit odd, because neither of them would have gone to that film 4 years before.
What else? It'd be 81. This would have been filmed. So what else would have been 81? That what a kid would have had. I was about to say Star Trek 2, but that came out the same time as this.
Star Trek 2 in America. Poltergeist came out the same day of Star Trek. Imagine that weekend. And then a week later, E.T. opened. Now, this is a trivia point, which many of you probably know. That is a 1940 film called A Guy Named Joe with Spencer Tracy. And the guy on the right is Barry Nelson, who was the first on-screen Bond. He was also in The Shining as the sort of hotel manager. And then Spielberg later remade that as Always. So that's Spielberg putting one of his little in-jokes in. And here's how the Incredibles unwind of an evening.
The Incredibles, yeah.
Yeah, with...
I love his before.
Yeah.
Losing weight.
So, again, I don't think Spielberg would I don't know, but I don't think he'd have characters rolling joints.
No.
And again, I just think that's a slightly more of a
Toby
Hooper sort of thing.
Because if you look into the sort of controversies around the sort of who filmed what, but there's a few complaints that Toby was a little bit high throughout this, and
possibly,
yes. But even Life Force, I think there was people commenting on that.
Okay, her sort of marijuana stash is in the box that we've just buried the budgie.
Oh yeah,
the same sort of cigar box. Maybe she's got loads of them. She might have to. She'll probably start digging up at midnight. I've buried the weed. God,
I buried the weed.
Why is there a dead canary in our weed stash? Right? Can someone go and start digging? But that's a real book. That Reagan, the Man, the President. That was a real book. I suppose like Fire and Fury is now, that everyone felt they had to read. And I also like that there's this suggestion that these were really cool. I don't know. They don't say it literally, but like the mum in E.T. particularly, and Melinda Dillon in Close Encounters, you'll just feel that these parents have become parents without noticing or not sure why they're parents, because their time was this sort of late 60s, early 70s sort of student rebellion, stoner, California world, and suddenly they're parents and they've got all of that domesticity to deal with. Particularly in E.T. with Dee Wallace, it's almost like family and parenthood has caught them unawares.
It seems like they're not fully prepared to be parents, but they're still kind of living that student lifestyle with they're quite relaxed parents. Actually, they're quite ideal parents to have when you're growing up, I suppose, and they wouldn't sort of, because later on he says he doesn't punish the kids, he doesn't hit them.
Yes,
he
just gets them high.
Shut up and smoke that.
Oh.
See, as a kid, I had Masters of the Universe bedsheets and Superman bedsheets.
I had Snoopy and Fred Bassett, which was a dog.
Fred
Daily Express sort of. Yes, but I had a Snoopy one. I was most proud of Snoopy.
I had the same bedsheets as Father Dougal.
Okay.
They were the He-Man ones.
Right. Okay.
Should try and eBay them.
So look, all the Star Wars figures, it's Bert and Ernie.
It's like the kid in The Princess Bride. Fred Savage has Captain America. Yeah, he has Captain America and like He-Man figures behind him. Very similar kind of like shelving.
Like in Argo, they go literally the whole end credits is just shots of different figures on shelves. This was our bedrooms. Yeah. Sort of in hindsight, it feels a bit forced, but this was our bedrooms. I think this is Chewbacca's. Here's a triv one. That's Chewbacca's only other film role that wasn't the holiday special.
It was on a jacket.
He was in a he's sort of on a jacket here.
It's an awkward moment when the kid walks in.
Yeah. Yep, still watching Guy Named Joe. And Oliver Robbins, I'm sure he's one of the many kids on all the Star Wars toy Kenner ads in the late 70s.
You must have kept 80s. Those toys when you did the advert. The kids must have had, can I have this?
Yeah.
It's always bugged me though when you see him, because once he knows Carol Ann's in the TV, you've got a shadow of him on the TV. You just see his kind of teeth, Roger Rabbit kind of teeth.
That's why he needed the brace in the second film.
yeah.
The filmmakers were making a big comment there.
We need to do something about the teeth. That was test audience complaints.
And I don't know about you, but I still, if I hear thunder at night, I still do the 1000, 2000 thing.
Oh, that
I always think of him sort of looking at a tree.
I did when I was that did stick with me till my early teens. I'd always count.
Yeah, I'm not worried about a tree going to come in and sort of pluck me from my tempura mattress. But it's the whole lightning thing. I always think of Poltergeist.
I've not experienced any really bad like thunder since I was a teenager. Most of it's just the odd rumble.
Yeah. Now they've got a massive house.
It's a whopper, isn't it?
Why don't the kids have a bedroom each? I know that probably doesn't make narrative or design sense when it all kicks off, but you should so you've got his room that's all Star Wars and Speak and Spell, which is obviously on loan to Elliot in the next streak, so you're going to get E.T. home with that. But then you cut across and she's got this chintzy sort of almost rainbow bright.
It feels
half
really
of
out
the
of
bedroom.
place. It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it's clearly done for the narrative, isn't it? For them to both have this evil energy be concentrated in one room.
Because is there almost a sense that Robbie here, he's like, I get a whole room to myself now. It's like, forget that she's in the closet making weird, screechy crying noises.
This is another great moment. This could be a little clue here whether she could have had a ghost talk to her on the phone.
Yeah, there's some people have tried to make connections with particularly the sequel. The third one isn't connected to anything other than tragedy. But and they talk about the beast, and someone's made some connection where perhaps one of the final spidery creatures on the corridor in the finale looks a bit like Julian Beck, who goes on to play Kane. But I think they didn't know what it was, and we don't need to. I think they introduced it well. They sort of retconned it, and in the sequel they come up with a good reason for it.
This is one of the great moments. I think this is classic Spielberg.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's on the phone. Mm-hmm. See, doesn't the tree itself have these kind of like faces coming?
It's like got a face on the left, almost like a humpback lady.
Yeah, it's like they've been sucked into this tree.
Yeah,
a bit like something like Sleepy Hollow or something.
Yeah. Oh, there you go, Cloud Tank. ILM did like a good Cloud Tank.
Oh, they did, didn't they?
Yeah.
Star Trek 2's full of it.
We've got a mutual friend, Tim Partridge, who loves the whole. He's a big Cloud Tank expert. One day we'll do a Cloud Tank thing. Now that was me after watching this film. I was literally in between my parents, and I wasn't like 10 or 11. That wasn't. It was slightly icky age. I was sort of a bit of a fearful child. But the first time I saw this film, it scared the shit out of me. No, I'm not joking. Yeah, seriously.
I think American Werewolf was probably the one that really terrified me as a kid. Just the opening, But it's always things like Poltergeist, like sort of ghost hauntings, are always the ones that sort of give you the willies. It's like, oh, I can't. You have to sort of sleep the light on.
Yeah, and I did. Yeah, and I would never. I had a small TV, and it went to close down.
I suppose it's a mistake of letting your children have a TV in their bedroom at a young age, where they'll kind of end up staying up too late and watching something on Channel 4, like a horrible horror film.
Oh, I did, and it wasn't just horror films; it was all sorts. But I put that down to a really decent sort of education movie learning curve. I'd watch all sorts, good and bad. But there'd also often be really great seasons, late night movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like so when I was 12, 13, not just the Hammers, but I remember Carrie and The Dead Zone, and they had a Stephen King season on Saturday nights.
Was it the Videodrome? Moviedrome.
Oh, it was Moviedrome. Yeah, that was a little later. That was brilliant with Alex Cox and then Mark Cousins. Oh, yeah, I don't know why a channel like BBC doesn't do that. Like they had this great Mark Kermode series recently on iPlayer where he's looking at different genres. Yeah. And it's only been on BBC 4. And put it on BBC 2 on a Sunday night, pick one of the films, put it either side of it. Is that they've sort of lost that sense of scheduling and presentation.
The BBC are very much more concerned with music than film. And it's a shame because the 90s there was quite a lot of film stuff on BBC.
But no, I loved to have the telly in my room. Was scared the shit out of me because I think it was the first month or two I'd had it in my room, and then once I got used to it and starting to watch all these films, because also they used it's becoming a confession now, but they used to have this. It was like a triangle or a star on Channel 4 if a film was a bit fruity and a bit naughty. So you're like, just don't tell the kids that's what they should be watching. Anyway, because this will happen.
This is actually they made the right choice actually going with Jerry Goldsmith because he had just won an Oscar for The Omen.
Yeah.
He'd obviously worked on Alien, so this is the next evolutionary step really with the horror thing because he's done 3 different types of horrors. But Alien was a very lush horror film, like score, but also with this sort of kind of eerie sound effects. And this is more of a classical piece, but it's got those
I think Goldsmith
musical cues to sort of give you the shock horror straight away.
He sort of has this like Night on Bald Mountain. It has that sort of almost Fantasia, gothic sweep to it, but it's very orchestral. I think he's a sort of overlooked element in this film. He's sort of he's the good spirit haunting this house.
Well, the soundtrack never came out at the time. It took years for it to come out for the movie collector fans. But yeah, it's odd.
Because often Goldsmith's foreshadowing what's going on before the camera does, before even any of the cuts let us know what's going on. The scores, the indicator. There we go.
Feeding the dog. We always did that. If you had a dog, you'd always sneakily feed it under the table.
And it's a bit of a, I don't know if it's a cliche or trope now, but the whole Spielberg, the dinner table, the domesticity, these kitchen scenes, I just think they're really powerful because they layer on the sound. Everyone's just riffing and improvising. The kids aren't sticking. You can see that Heather O'Rourke's they're both winding each other up on camera.
Oh yeah.
And I just think that's such a good tick of this era of movies.
Well, I think Spielberg was probably the only. I think maybe him and Donna were those directors who really got the best performances out of children by sort of letting them, encouraging them to sort of be maybe ad-lib a little bit, but also he knew how to talk to them on their level.
And what information they had at that point, because I think E.T. was shot quite chronologically. It was shot in order.
Yes, right, yeah.
Particularly so they could get Drew Barrymore to lose her shit at the end. And also, you've got to be responsible because the kids don't always know that it's fake. If someone's coming in covered in blood, you've got to have a responsibility there. But Heather O'Rourke, I think she was born in 1975. She'd already done loads. She'd been in like Happy Days and Chips and I think Fantasy Island and loads of commercials. She was probably more of a veteran than any of them combined at this point.
Yeah. Wasn't it through her audition she kept laughing, so they didn't realise she could take it seriously, but then they she came back and did it again, but they actually made her cry. So I was like, right, you got the job.
Well, Spielberg wanted her for E.T., for Gertie.
Right.
And I think he made absolutely the right call. You needed that sort of tomboy bullishness that Drew Barrymore brings to it.
It's odd that the older daughter's going to school, but those two aren't.
True,
I always thought that was strange.
Her sort of in and out of the film, she suddenly disappears and goes off to sort of stay with the family.
Yes, I do feel
and
like
then Robbie does as well, I think. Yeah,
I just realised there's too many characters and had to sort of juggle them all. And so just get them out of this whole sequence now.
Now, this is a key moment where I just think Spielberg would not have put this in. This is a Tobe Hooper moment where you've got a teenage girl who's probably slightly underage legally. Yes, she's winding up the constructors digging up the pool, but there's a slight flirty fuck you about it. I just think that's not a Spielberg trait. Not at this time in his career, anyway.
Yeah. That's a good point.
There's a few more. Maybe we'll come to them later. But I mean, there's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is obviously one of the key Tobe Hooper movies. Takes place. It all unfurls in one house. Likewise, this.
Yeah.
And it's a house that maybe society's overlooking.
Wasn't this supposed to be kind of like a side sequel or something that is to Close Encounters? It was dealing with aliens.
Night Skies.
Night Skies. Yeah.
With and maybe that I was wondering why they've got that alien poster there, other than it's just a cool poster and it's of its time. But there was no links. It wasn't like that John Williams did the score or Jerry Goldsmith.
Jerry did.
I suppose Jerry Goldsmith did the score. Maybe there's your link there. But that sort of English-British horror that is Alien, what were the links? But I think just era, zeitgeist, I suppose that's enough.
Yeah, I suppose so. But it was the right decision, though, to sort of go with this haunted house scenario, which I think was Toby's idea.
And you can see it in Salem's Lot, which he did for Warner's, the sort of TV mini series that he did. There's a lot of Poltergeist in that, lots of denim-clad teens, bedroom windows. Sorry, I've just been completely distracted by a random constructor stealing her food.
You sure make good coffee. This is the edit coming up here. Well, it's not an edit at all. It's all just like literally take everything off set, come in with some glued chairs together.
Yeah, quickly
stick them on the thing.
Get all the interns we can for this moment.
Yeah, because there must be literally off left of the camera. There's no wall. They just jump in with the stuff and take it.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, it would have been quite difficult to remove all those chairs that are tucked under the table. You have to be so quick. It's now
3, 4. Actually, that is quick. Yeah, you're right. It's not the bringing the ones in; it's getting rid of the existing ones.
Yeah.
And how do they get them to balance so quickly?
Yeah.
I presume they're all stuck. It's probably two pieces that lock together. I'd love to see any outtake of any movie, but particularly E.T.
That's something there you could actually probably spoof and say it's like, how did they do that?
How many takes did this just go wrong?
The TV people.
Obviously it shares so many comparisons with E.T. It's and there's loads of them. But one is that it looks at that time of day where we're not all around. So like with E.T., when he has the day off from school, we all know that's that slightly different time zone. And here you just see what Stephen's doing during the day at work, but also what Jo Beth Williams is doing, the sort of routine and the day that she always has with Carol Ann. And that's first what gets eroded and attacked.
It's interesting as well with the transition there. The houses, they also comment on here, the customers, like the houses all appear to be the same. It's that sort of new house builds.
Yeah.
Most of the houses are kind of the same thing. I don't really want this house.
No,
it's the same as your next door neighbours.
Republican houses for Republican voters. That's what... And the house is still there, obviously. The location house, not the interior. Yeah. And it doesn't look any different from what people have posted online. I'd like to go there. I nearly got there recently, but I'm going to try and go back.
The guy on the right looks like Richard Donner.
Yeah.
His cameo. Here you go, folks.
There's probably Richard Edlund or someone. It's some.
There's some scary clouds coming in. You're like, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, fuck the Poltergeist. Never mind the sort of
out for the weather.
Force 10 Hurricane Toby that's coming in.
Hurricane Toby. She's like she's very much like a runner, isn't she? Because she's her with her physique, and when she sees her, starts celebrating seeing the furniture move. She seems like that sort of character, doesn't she? Stays in shape.
Well, again, Hooper, Poltergeist and Texas Chainsaw Massacre both have a female lead that ends the film not wearing much. Shit scared,
also a little bit
running
like,
up and down.
It was like Alien
corridors,
as well, where they kind of they have that moment where Sigourney's kind of taking her clothes off, where it's kind of she's even more vulnerable. And this has a moment where you think something's going to happen in the bath, and nothing happens at all. It's trying to trick you.
Oh, she's got a Snoopy toy. Good girl. I'm a big Peanuts fan, especially when I was her age. I'm glad she's got a Snoopy there. I think it looks like Snoopy. See, at this point, I'd move out.
Well, yeah,
I'd be getting out of this now.
It's the old. What was it? I think it was Eddie Murphy had said that, because always white folk, when there's like a ghost in the house, they go, "Oh, let's find out. Let's stick around.
Let's put a chair down."
The black people they goes, "Get out."
Yeah.
Okay, we're going. It's like, yeah, it's if you see anything like that, your furniture moving, you go, yeah. I mean, it'd be difficult to try and sell it though. Try and sell the house where there's poltergeist activity going on. You have to sort of wait till nothing happens.
To be fair, if you've got that much wicker in your house, you deserve everything you're getting. It's like Argos has been pillaged for this movie.
Everything's wood paneling. It's still kind of feels like it's a crossover of the 70s.
Knotted pine or pine knot. There's loads of it in Gremlins as well. If you
awful,
look, loads of
wallpaper.
Yeah. And that was our houses. I remember we had loads of that sort of faux pine kitchenette, bonquette, whatever you call them. Those sort of there's photos of me surrounded by that amount of fake wood, and usually clutching a Snoopy as well.
So here comes the edit. Look at that.
Yeah, no, it's
It's so wonky.
And then they do this thing with the flies, which I don't understand that apart from
it's like they're obviously because it's the house is now haunted and they've got maybe rotting corpses in the ground, like
an Augustus Gloop from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory happens to be living next door. That's useful.
Yeah, I love how his kid's fat as well. It's like,
Yeah.
he just spoils his kid. He just overfeeds him.
Because nothing good will happen in a Spielberg movie if the kid's slightly overeaten. Only thin kids meet aliens and paranormal spectres. I do like it that it gets a lot. There's a sort of oddly, it's sinister where this is happening to this family, and the neighbours, they just don't notice or they don't care, and they do nothing about it. And that they may as well be in the house from Texas Chainsaw Massacre because they're just there's no sense of rescue or
that was the thing I commented on with Halloween. It's like when Jamie Lee Curtis is screaming for help, no one will help her. They just ignore her. And it is this. They always say, trust thy neighbour or whatever, but no, you shouldn't. It was image they're trying to break down.
Yeah, and this whole sort of Reaganite era of communities and families, and I think this film, without Spielberg and Hooper, Spielberg particularly doesn't wear his politics. His films tend to be about the politics of people's passions and principles.
It's not on the nose about it, but it's drawing your attention to something that is on his mind.
But there's a feeling, the suggestion that Reagan's not going to help you now. That these people are on their own. They're not going to get the help of communities.
It's interesting here now because he's obviously been bitten by all these bugs, but the next shot, all that tissue's gone. It's like... This one would be a good double act with Ghostbusters as well, I think. Sort of a double screening.
Oh right, I was just mashing them up in my head. I was just imagining.
You can
Bill Murray turns up dressed as Tangina Barons.
When it cuts to the university later on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You could have the
Cuts a bit where Pete Venkman's doing a test on those two people.
I've long thought someone needs to do a mashup movie that still plays as a movie, but just brings in loads of other films, sort of Zelig, Woody Allen style. Do you know what? Just pull your curtains.
Yeah,
your parents are so stoned at the end of the night that they don't even just...
They seemed stoned when I went next door.
Yeah,
they're constantly laughing, weren't they?
Just close the curtains. Ooh.
It's the same stock sound effect they've been using a lot. It's like the same sound effect there, which the demon in Supergirl uses when he goes at the end appears.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's like a lion's voice that's been manipulated. Alan Howarth worked on this as a sound guy. Sound effects. He worked with Carpenter and stuff.
I mean, obviously we got the sound down, but it is a rich. I mean, as well as the score, there's a real rich sense of oral production to this. I always felt it was a bit weird, but the tornado is so close to them, but it doesn't take them up. Oh no! It takes a tree instead, which weighs a lot more. And I also like the oldest daughter. She's pretty useless. I'm sure wouldn't she hear her sister screaming for help? And help as well. She goes more sort of juvenile than her younger siblings. They're sort of going through this rubbish and dealing with it. Oh my god, a TIE fighter just got sucked into the and that poster, that's vintage. Be careful with be careful with it. Leave the chintzy headrest, but we're going to take everything else. It always freaked me out when it was eating him. Oh god! Getting eaten by a tree. That is a stuff of nightmares for children. I can't believe this was a PG in America. It's just how Spielberg got away with that. Only just, I think they probably really fought for it. Yeah, we're gonna lose money if it's a PG. If it's a R. I mean, I know what it is. It's Gravity. They're just revolving a set that. But I think it's apart from that bit maybe. But Oh, that's
The
one way of emptying a room.
I always love the BBC the BBFC, sorry, when it has that breaks down what threats in this rating.
Mild peril.
Mild peril.
Mild
yes,
peril.
That's my favourite.
You don't see like mild sex scene or mild nudity.
Side boob. That's mild. Oh, I conveniently missed us.
Maybe that's like a whole Wizard of Oz MGM.
I think it's kind of a bit of a
Sort
Wizard of
of,
Oz moment. Isn't
like,
it?
yeah.
There you go, smash cut to Wizard of Oz.
Yep. It's a tornado. I mean, yes, you can hear Elmer Bernstein's Ghostbusters score.
Yeah.
That sort of ethereal.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a style that works so well in creating something that's gonna that is kind of really makes you think about ghosts and stuff. I think
Elmer Bernstein, Jerry Goldsmith, they, unlike maybe John Williams, although he has done it, they adapted quite well to different more electronica and synth stuff and more different sort of...
Jerry very much so, yeah. He'd bring in the synths quite early. I mean, John Williams used a bit of synth on Superman the movie, but they're like proper really old, pretty like Moogs or something. But Jerry was one that really kind of pushed it. And he's probably the best at blending the two.
God, it's a massive house.
Yeah, it's a whopper, isn't it? What was it always like? I always remember, I think it was like in America, with your house, how big your house in terms of wealth, it's how many toilets you have.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. You're going to have to get Radio Rentals in to help with this one. It's definitely it's definitely a reception issue. Where's your aerial facing? Are you TVS or are you Anglia? This is what happens when you had TVS and Meridian. They just go to white noise.
But nowadays, he's still on analog. He should be on digital. Why was she going to the swimming pool?
I'm sure it's this film. There's lots of urban or even suburban myths around this film, but one of them is that they later on in the pool where JoBeth Williams can't get out and the corpses are sort of grabbing and pulling her down.
They real skeletons?
Allegedly they were all real because it was cheaper and quicker at the last minute to go to some medical university and ask to borrow some specimens.
Yeah, I'd heard.
I don't know. I imagine not, because I've also heard there was a suggestion that some of the Raiders' corpses ended up being sort of bandied about here.
I know health and safety was a little bit loose those days, but I'm sure it's hard to believe.
I can't imagine a rotting corpse because I'm no mortician, but I imagine that if you come back the next day, the continuity might not be in your stuff. Like,
you look really ill.
Yeah, this we can't use that one. That one's gone a little greener. I still feel it's utterly creepy. There he is with his buck teeth.
He just has one tooth.
I can't mock it. I teeth like that. I still have, actually. That's why I never get photographed against an analogue TV after close down.
She's stuck in the Betamax. Oh, God.
No, it's worse. It's V2000.
V2000.
No, it's clever, though. That whole layers of sound and that.
Yeah. I love the static charge. I think there is a sound effect there. So this is where you can smash cut the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love Beatrice Straight in this.
Yeah, what has she been in? Because I was thinking last night she must have been sort of classic actress.
She'd not long won Best Supporting Actress Oscar for Network.
Oh, that was 76. When Ned Beatty was in that one.
Yeah, she got the Oscar for that. She was one of quite a few actresses who played Wonder Woman's mum in the Linda Carter show.
Wow.
I think Cloris Leachman. And I can't remember. Yvonne, the woman that was in The Munsters. I can't remember. Yvonne DiCarlo, maybe. So anyway, she was one of the various actresses that played Linda Carter's mother. Real dignity. I love the poise she's got in this.
It's wonderful. Yeah. Her best moment is when she discusses about the ghosts going into the light, and some people don't want to go, or they get lost along the way. But she makes it the dialogue written for her is so well done. It makes the child understand the concept of life after death.
And there's a bit of humour in it.
It makes you think, that could be subtly true in some way, because the film The Frighteners, Michael J. Fox plays on that similar idea.
And you need those linchpins, whether it's Zelda Rubinstein or even like Peter Coyote and E.T. You need a friend, my friend Alex, and we call it the Jimmy Smits syndrome, where Jimmy Smits just brought some sanity to the Star Wars prequels when he comes in. And she brings some sort of sanity, because it could just about, this whole film could just start to derail and become silly, but no, she comes in and she's not pretending to know everything as well.
No. There's a bit of gravitas to it.
Yeah.
I love the moment later on where she's like, the mother knocks on the door, and opens it for a split second, just goes, "Wah!"
Yeah. Like, not today, Thaden.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
It's like The Exorcist in there, I don't think later on when he had the guy kind of obviously goes for those visions where he starts pulling his face off the in the mirror. He looks like he literally has no neck.
No, there's something not right about the hands. I think they use like someone's hands the wrong way round, and in the mirror gives it away. I'm sure it doesn't sit well. But again, it's the women of this film notice what's going on. The women sort of monitor it, and then the women sort it. The men just slowly fall apart. Oh, this is what happens when Milton Bradley.
Maybe it's sort of Spielberg's kind of idea that the sort of holds the family together as the mother.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, it's a rare Spielberg film because it's actually a family that's together. There's no one missing. It's not single mum or absent father. In that respect, it's quite rare for a Spielberg story to have a family that are together at the beginning and end of the movie.
Okay, we're going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. As when this much Argos sort of homeware, soft furnishings, and now coffee percolators moving on their own.
Argos, it's index catalogue.
Yeah. No, definitely Argos. We had all of this. We had a coffee percolator like that. We had the wicker chairs.
Early roll there for Bill Gates.
Yeah. And Ray Parker Jr.
Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
Ghost busting makes me feel good. Poltergeist busting makes me feel good.
Have you ever witnessed any sort of paranormal activity throughout your life?
My only time every time I get asked that, I was once visiting a family member in Glasgow, one of the Glasgow hospitals, and right alongside it is, I think it's called the Necropolis, which is this Victorian sort of monument to death and a big far-reaching graveyard. And I remember we were killing time, like early evening one summer. I remember walking through and just someone tapped my shoulder and I looked round and there was nothing around. It wasn't a leaf, it wasn't a branch, there was nothing and my parents weren't with me. And I remember thinking, oh, that was a bit strange. But that, who knows what that was.
Yeah, I've never experienced anything. It's sort of kind of, when you do speak to people about what they've experienced, sometimes they go to these. My sister likes doing those haunted kind of get-togethers where they stay in a castle or something overnight, and it's like apparently haunted or something, and something happens, But a lot of it's down to one's imagination. If you're in a dark room, and your imagination just takes over.
It's your own projections. Yeah, in more times than not.
It's like when you watch Yvette Fielding on Most Haunted or something.
Yeah,
she just nothing's happening, but they're like, "What was that? What was that sound?"
Oh, I know. Yeah,
I heard nothing.
Oh, cue the well-trained golden retriever looking at treats above the camera.
There's one moment in the film I thought was a bit too kind of telegraphed with its direction. It's such a simple shot, but it's maybe nitpicking. But when Cowland talks, the dad goes, "Hello, sweet Pete," turns the light off, and then he goes down, and then the lady comes up behind him. It's this weird kind of that. Oh, he goes down, she goes up. It just felt a little bit
over choreographed.
Yeah. That's too Spielberg. That's a Spielberg shot. I swear.
It's too quirky to be a Hooper one.
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's a lot of white goods. Early 80s particularly, it was all white goods. It was cordless phones and DVDs and stereo systems and sound systems. And I think this film it gets lost now in the sort of decades since, but there was a lot of kit in this film, and it was kit that people had in their houses. So suddenly when voices are coming through the new appliance, it's really clever, I think. And it's a good touch. It's not about slamming doors or flames being extinguished in the fireplace. It's all sort of coming through Sony monitors and
it's got a few Sony Trinitron TVs in this.
And again, it's going back to that. The whole film seems to be told through TV screens. Stephen's worried that they'll end up on 60 Minutes, and it's often the TV footage that tells us what's going on.
I would presume at the time seemed quite contemporary.
Yeah,
Now
this could be. Perhaps there was a notion of what a sequel could be. I don't think the story of it was in mind at the time. But you suddenly got all these sort of Victorian era timepieces and jewellery, which does align more with Reverend Cain later on.
Yeah, because I was a little bit confused, because it was built on an ancient Indian burial ground, but I thought, well, wouldn't they all be Indians?
They've slightly fudged and moved around that, I think, for the sequel, and hence why they probably have Will Sampson turn up as the sort of assistants.
Because I think when you see a lot of the ghosts that get recorded, that it seems like from 100 years ago.
Yes.
So it doesn't seem like it's from 500 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's.
It reminds me of in Ghostbusters 2. There's not much about it that works, but when those ghosts walk off the Titanic,
that freaked me out.
It's really sinister. And when these ghosts coming to, and you can see the wide brim sort of pagan hats. There is something creepy about that when they're coming down the stairs a bit later on.
It's like when you see old black and white photos of 1900s, everyone with the same moustache, and the way they're lit and the way it's photographed. They look kind of sinister in a way, but they're not. Without the colour, it seems odd.
Yes. Still found time though, Diane, to get your hair done.
She did indeed. Yes.
Yeah, and you're looking quite sort of ABBA glam. You're very Agneta today. You're on point with the period. Lots of knitwear and side perms.
She looks more like a mother now, doesn't she? When you just added the scarf.
I really love Jo Beth Williams. She's done loads of work. Never quite got the level, I think, in terms of notoriety and profile. But she was doing. I'm trying to think some of the films she's doing. Stir Crazy and The Big Chill. And she did a great TV movie called The Day After, which I don't know if you've ever heard of.
I've heard of it.
It's about sort of nuclear, Third World War nuclear attack. It was one of the most watched and most discussed TV movies, and she's in that. But she never quite hit the big time.
Yeah, because
there's a Meryl Streep quality about her. You could almost see Meryl Streep in this film if it was made 5 years earlier into Streep's career.
Well, it's like she could have had a similar sort of path to is it Karen Allen from Indiana Jones? She could have been a lover for Indiana Jones, it's odd that maybe it's her sort of career path and what roles she chose didn't really give her those opportunities to be on these big blockbusters that will give her the sort of awareness.
As you say, Bill Gates is... Go and have a pork chop. There's one lying on the counter.
I suppose he's going to cook the whole pork chop to himself, Bit me. There's also a slight hint that her oldest daughter is a bit promiscuous because they sort of mention a hotel. She's like, "Oh, I kind of might." I remember that hotel. And he's like, "What?" So
maybe they need to sort of send her off to aunt in Arizona just to stop her sleeping with the paranormal investigators.
That's an interesting shot there. The exterior with the light coming out the windows. It's very Exorcist
and E.T. as well. There's
Yeah.
a lot of, when they're ordering
Smoke as
pizza
well.
in E.T., that low curb mist. I think this got nominated for Best Sound Editing for the Academy Awards because it's.
It was nominated for visual effects as well.
Yeah,
but
and
lost
score.
Lost to E.T.
It won. I think the BAFTA. It got the British BAFTA for visual effects. Back in the day.
This is, I think, was probably the last Richard Edlund movie, I believe, as he was part of ILM. Then he left and set up Boss Film. Then did Ghostbusters in 2010, the same year.
Which I quite like.
I like
2010. For a long time, I preferred it to the original.
Oh God!
Yeah, no, because I was a kid
to
when
the internet.
Yeah, it was,
It's certainly a more digestible story.
Yeah,
it's more straightforward,
and it's very 1984. Roy Scheider, John Lithgow, sort of. I saw it at the cinema actually, 2010.
Wow, that's been pretty impressive back then. Seeing that on 35mm.
Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, and then I saw 2001. Thought that's boring.
Well, Sigourney Weaver said many a time she finds 2001 a very dry movie to watch. She finds it.
It's a beautiful piece of art, and it is a stunning film, and it's like a lot of good Kubrick moments and movies. He sort of asks more questions than he answers. I haven't seen it for a while. I need to go back to it. And this is like this great piece of dialogue.
This is the moment where
Dr. Lesh
she shines,
yeah.
doesn't she, in her performance.
There's a sort of theatricality. Not a lot of the cast of Beatrice Straight was quite a force of theatre as well. But the theatricality to the set, they often just let the set tell the story, if that makes any sense. Obviously, it's a big house. Maybe that's partly the reason why it's such a massive house. But you'll see the paranormal investigator sleeping at the back there. I like you see the stairs. There's a sort of great sense of choreography and blocking to this movie because ostensibly this whole film now unfurls in a lounge, admittedly a very big lounge, with a few sort of trips upstairs.
It tries. I think really from the final act when they do the sort of double ending, it ventures upstairs. Upstairs now becomes the threat. When downstairs is very much kind of, they got bored of that bit. I thought it's always vinyl in the background as well. So.
Got some here.
Oh, yeah. And plenty of James Bond books.
Yes.
Bond on Bond.
Got vinyl and Bond in this house.
I always have the gag in The Simpsons where they've got a Sean Connery picture signed by Roger Moore.
Yeah, no, I haven't done that, but I've been very tempted to go up to the wrong person and go, I love what you did in that film that you weren't in.
I think there's a great photo of Jack Nicholson pulling a very displeased face with a Heath Ledger thing he's been asked to sign.
Yeah.
That's a classical way of lighting someone with the light right on their face. It's perfectly matches the shadow as well.
I mean, Spielberg, obviously he must have set some cameras up. That the rumour is he'd turn up on set and the lighting would all be ready to go without Hooper perhaps being so creatively involved. But that sense of light is such a Spielberg thing, particularly in these early 80s domestic ones. I believe they used like some lights from Vegas casinos for the upstairs bedroom stuff just to get that furnace of light.
Wow.
But then if you look at Life Force, again saying is it Stephen versus Toby, Life Force, there's like I saw it for the first time recently, that's why, but it has the same sort of colour and palette as Poltergeist. It feels like, maybe Hooper did make more of those choices than not.
Life Force has a bit more of an earthy colour palette for the most of the first time. Because also you've got that English setting, it's Alan Hume sort of photographing it.
It was a bizarre film. I mean, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
It's bonkers, isn't it?
It is
That's why
bonkers.
I love
It's mad as a box of
it's
vampire
seeing
frogs. But
London getting blown to bits.
Well, it's seeing a model that they found at a Welsh model.
It's like Hot Fuzz.
Tourist site.
It's that model thing at the end of Hot Fuzz and blowing it up.
And the same extras sort of running back and forth. And it sort of looks like it's been shot in sort of LWT London of sort of, well, it was in sort of mid-80s.
LWT London.
It was sort of, yeah, with coppers and Aldgate tube station. And don't worry, you will not be in the third film. I will make sure of that. We are not having this 3 times, all right? We are not going to Chicago for the very, very bad sequel, promise.
Well, the girl who played Carol Ann, she said she would do one more, the 4th one, if it would ever happen. But obviously, sadly, she had passed away.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Oh, and I would have quite liked to see Poltergeist 4, The Quest for Peace, but it would have been...
Or Citizens on Patrol.
Citizens on Patrol, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think it's a great... I don't mind the second one. I think it's the sort of backstory propels it enough to the end credits. It falls apart when, I don't know if the budget or the impetus ran out. And it does, like you joke about Quest for Peace, it does sort of run out of time and money towards the end of it. But the Poltergeist 3 just missed so many beats. These films happen in suburbia in people's homes, not in tower blocks. And then, yes, you can have Zelda Rubinstein and Heather O'Rourke. And you, on paper, you've got Nancy Allen and Tom Skerritt, who are, 2 big Carrion Alien veterans. They're good horror names, but it just didn't work. And it, directed by the guy that did Deathline. So it could have been a little more quirky and interesting.
Do you think
maybe it's too late as well?
Do you think the scares in this movie, the sort of effective, scary moments, come from Toby, because he's specialised. That was his thing, was horror, wasn't it? He was known for Spielberg. Maybe it was Spielberg had a few tricks up his sleeve to sort of say, I know how to scare people. But
Spielberg
did what's with Jaws was kind of had its,
of course.
That was a lot of the scares came from John Williams' music,
or Werner Field's sort of last minute editing calls. I think Spielberg, he does it in E.T., creates a sense or a tone of horror, whereas Hooper creates a moment of horror.
Yeah,
it's a beat,
and this movie needs those beats. Yeah. That's the thing, for it to sell what it's trying to advertise.
And here's a perfect example of never going to someone's fridge when you're staying overnight. Again, I can't look... I mean, I don't eat much meat. My partner's a vegetarian, but I can't look at a pork chop now or a lamb chop without thinking of Poltergeist. It's weird what these films, how they sort of burn themselves into your sort of mental retinas. So trees and lightning and now pork chops, this film is altered. And speaking spells flying around a room.
Speaking spells,
I can't see a speaking spell flying around a room without thinking of Poltergeist now.
I think Ghostbusters as well kind of has a few kind of similar elements to this, where instead of this food coming sort of rotting as it were or falling out of itself, but has the eggs.
Yeah, again, it's that sense of domesticity and that the space of the kitchen. I think. Yeah, with Carol Ann going across the whole story starts. Well, it starts in the TV, but the kitchen is invaded first.
Yeah. And there's little things happening. Yeah. It's nothing too aggressive. It's all just like the librarian, where you got the books going behind her, moving. It's like David Warner there for some reason.
Yeah. Now look, the hands don't look right here. There's clearly someone leaning in with their hands against a sort of prosthetic head.
Yeah.
I'm probably wrong on this. I'm vague feeling Spielberg, that was his hands or something. Could be wrong. Yeah, and he looks a bit like Martin Short in Inner Space as well.
It's that bit as well, same hair.
That same sort of slightly 1982 page boy do. He will not be coming back.
What was it? I think someone said online that what they recorded the footage on was a U-matic or something like that. That's a weird recording system.
We had an open staircase. Didn't quite go into the lounge like this, but we had one that they're very vulnerable when you're a kid going up and down them. And this doesn't help either. I don't know how you do this film. I mean, obviously they made the sort of ropey remake, but how would you do this film now? Would you just have a phone on a table that starts moving and
That's a
sort
good
of
point.
pointing towards the stairs?
I mean, Paranormal Activity played on the sort of surveillance footage, kind of using it to capture the events in the house, which actually worked, I thought. But doing this would you just have just more modern technology, so everything much condensed down, wouldn't you? I think instead of having 3 TVs, it'd just be through a computer monitor. That would be it.
It's a massive houseplant.
Yeah. I just grabbed a tree from outside and shoved it in there.
Yeah, we've not got good history with large living plant objects in this movie. Don't invite more into the house.
Now, still to this day, though, I mean, the film is 36 years old now. The visual effects still hold up very well. The optical stuff.
Even the stuff that's clearly animated, the quality of it adds to it. I think when the hand first comes out of the TV and it's sort of spindly.
Yeah. But that's Richard Edlund as well, where every film he worked on had really good rotoscoping, electricity and things like that, like Big Trouble in Little China or Masters of the Universe. This stuff here, look at that. I mean,
it's pure Raiders. There's a whiff of Close Encounters about it. That sort of spindly, spiderly spectrals, all probably shot in water. Of course they were. And it works. And this has aged less than I would say some of the effects in the remake have. Easily.
I remember when the remake came out, no one was at all happy about it. I don't think anyone was like, I'm super excited now to see this,
I did watch it. First of all, it flipped. It's none of the women were in charge. It was Jared Harris replaces Zelda Rubinstein's role, and it sort of gives I remember the boy feeling guilt, and it was pitched wrong, and I didn't understand why they had to pitch and change it. It did sort of the J.J. Abrams thing of just flip everything. So if it was the girl that disappeared, it's the boy that disappeared, or if it's
right, sort of that's the quickest way to it not to be predictable.
Yeah.
Was that produced by Sam Raimi, his company?
Possibly.
Yeah, I remember the logo, the company. I'm trying to remember.
So this creeped me out. Still effectively done in that sort of ILM 80s horror way.
Modern paranormal recordings would be, look, we can see an orb.
Yeah.
It's an orb.
Yeah, it's definitely an orb, or a hooved, cloven-footed Pan's Labyrinth goat. We've gone from religious pastors to goats now in our horrors. I loved Stephen or Craig T. Nelson's slow mental breakdown over this film.
Yeah.
It's drinking during the day, the stubble.
And he's just all a sweaty mess when he goes to see his boss at the cemetery. Yeah, get rid of the kids. They're boring us now. Get out of here.
New build. All the grass is brand new turf.
I love how the dog's just like, fuck you guys, I'm out of here.
Yeah, fuck this.
See, look, you're saying that.
I'm not coming back for the sequels either. I think he does actually, the dog.
The dog, the dad, look, he's a fucking mess. Look at him.
Yeah, he's beginning to look like a cadaver himself. He's sort of falling apart. I think, oddly, Stephen is the audience. He's the eyes of the audience. You just dropped something there. I'm sure he just dropped something there. Because Joe Beth Williams, Bitch are straight. They're buying into it and trying to move forward. But he's just like, what the hell is going on here?
He's got the V2000 tapes. Surely they can just move out,
Nice touch.
That's like
we get high and we drink during the day. We are just terrible parents.
You just go, well,
Hard
if it's
liquor.
nowadays, just go stay in an Airbnb or something for a while.
Yeah.
Wait for it to blow over.
Well, they sort of do that at the end in that fun motif where they go to the motel and then chuck out the telly.
Yeah.
Jo Beth Williams with her, like you say, Karen Allen do.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
That's sort of 81, 82.
It's interesting, these kind of movies, American movies especially, with this period where no one was really experimenting with like hair gel and hairspray, where the sort of new romantic things had already kind of come in.
Yeah.
And the young kids and teenagers were kind of just going crazy with their hair.
Yeah.
That in the UK especially. But I think it didn't really show up into like maybe like John Hughes film.
Yeah.
Where they didn't.
Yeah.
They started.
Everyone's still a bit sort of still the
Playing
Farrah
catch
Fawcett
up.
factor.
Mm.
Now, this actor died recently, which for a Poltergeist movie is always significant. It's 38 years or 36 years after this movie's made, he
Curse.
dies. It's the curse. Definitely the curse.
I mean, he lived. No, he died at a very old age. I mean, he had a good innings. I always one of those actors, when you sort of think, are they still alive?
Yeah.
They are. My
Yeah.
God, great. But he's popped up in so many films, having these sort of supporting roles.
But he must be dodgy because he's got a three-piece suit and he's older. And that was always like the sign in an early Spielberg movie of like Mayor Vaughn in Jaws and some of the E.T. government guys.
Don't trust your elders.
Don't trust anyone that's in a suit. I like the suggestion that they have to still get on with life, like do the laundry, collect things, keep the house tidy. But I'm sure if it was me, I'd be a little more freaked out and angry and probably sedated by now if I was Carol Ann's parents.
Well, you'd be worried about things that's happening when you're having a shower or on the toilet. Someone's going to...
It'll bring
jump out
down
and
your
get you.
Airbnb rating, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, especially this next moment. TripAdvisor are going to warn against staying in this house.
She just generally seems terrified.
Yeah.
She just sells that role so well. Nice, lovely matte painting coming up.
Yeah.
As it extends the cemetery.
It's a great idea that they didn't... We didn't move the bodies last time. Why do we need to do it next time?
Yeah. No one complained before until now. It's like...
The scope of that, although obviously they slightly focus and shift that away on the sequel.
Mm.
I can hear Mr. Incredible now. That's the thing. I can hear...
When he's got the tired voice,
Yeah.
he's Mr. Incredible, when he's trying to deal with just everyday life and he wants to be out saving people. I couldn't live in a place like that. That sort of that setting because you feel so far away from just getting to the shops or whatever. You've got to travel a long way. Everyone's traveling around with their car all day, but yeah.
No, I must go next. I nearly went because it's not that far from Tujunga, which is where they shot E.T.
Mm.
So Simi Valley and E.T.
Oh, you had considered visiting?
Yeah.
Mm.
And I'd love to get a photo outside the Poltergeist house, but I just know that I'll be the one person that sets the owner over the edge. And I end up being dragged inside and it sort of turns into like a Poltergeist Chainsaw Massacre hybrid of...
Get him!
There's a horror film there about sort of visiting movie locations and the owner's finally having enough, I think.
They finally crack when you show up going, look, take a photo.
Becky died. Becky died, 1903. Who was called Becky in 1903? No one was called Becky in 1903.
See, that's when he just... he puts two and two together now. I've figured it out why the house is fucked. Maybe someone should try that, see if it works.
So at this point, an alien just goes past collecting M&Ms. off. There's been a boy's left a trail of M&Ms going in the opposite direction. Again, someone please do the Spielberg California 80s mashup.
But he's also, he doesn't speak up at all at this point. He's still very much holding everything in, like most dads do. It's always that thing, holding in your emotions, not really kind of displaying them. And he does it really fine. He cracks at the end.
Yeah,
that musical cue there was wonderful. That is really kind of sound. You see the sort of night coming in, and this is where shit's going to go off. And
again, Diane's just dressing up as ABBA. Just her evening wear. I'm just gonna, knowing me, knowing you. Knowing me, knowing Zool, but that's a different film.
Knowing Zool.
And here we have the great Zelda Rubinstein.
Where's she been in?
Well, she had a late career. It wasn't until like 80, 81 where she'd been doing lots of cartoon voice work. I think she worked with Mel Blanc and Paul Rubens before he then became Pee Wee Herman.
Right.
And I think she got her first acting gig in the early 80s. Was fortunate enough to be cast in this. Yes, she was a late developer, but she did this amazingly weird film that I remember renting out in the late 80s called Anguish, which was shot in Spain. And it's a film within a film. So halfway through the film you're watching becomes what some characters are watching in a movie theatre. For no reason, it's slightly a bit strange, but she plays an obsessive mother who's pushing her sort of live-at-home son, and he goes over the brink. So I think it's a clever film, although I saw it when I was like 15, so maybe it's less clever now. But Zelda Rubinstein, she was a really interesting character in all sorts of ways, but in 84, when AIDS was taking over sort of the cities and gay communities of America, and her career wasn't that advanced at the time, and she ended up doing all these infomercials to try and warn people of just take precautions, be sensible, and everyone said you'll kill your career, and she said I don't care, I'd rather my career dies than someone else of this horrible disease. And it might be a gay disease now, but it'll go over the fence, it'll go across the street. This is not something just for the gay community. And she took part in one of the first AIDS charity walks in LA as well, which still go on to this day. So a massive AIDS advocate when a lot of people weren't, particularly big names. There were big names doing it, but she was one of the the friends of the gay community. Yeah, and there's a massive gay following of this movie, particularly in San Francisco. There's a great drag queen movie fan called Peaches Christ who does all these amazing spoof homage productions of different horrors and all sorts of movies. And I know Poltergeist and Tangina Barons feature very highly there.
Oh, fantastic. But she here as well, she sells it perfectly. Yeah. Everyone gathers around, and she says, talks about, your daughter's still alive, and sort of explains what's going on in the other dimension, as it were. But then she takes the glass off, and Jerry Goldsmith cues it in with a haunting theme that the beast is holding her back. The beast it could be anything. It's not the devil, as it were.
Yeah, and it doesn't. I think if we don't know what it is, that's preferable. It's like don't show the shark.
Yeah.
And for a genre as well, early 80s, that sort of, you had Halloween and Friday the 13th, the younger audiences were being targeted with horror movies, and Poltergeist was part of that wave. But you've got two characters that are leading the drama and the dynamics of it, who are older women. This isn't, it might be a film made for kids and feature kids, but you've got these two not elderly, but older veteran actresses taking the charge in this. So much of this film shouldn't work, but it does.
Yeah, and they're guiding a woman who, we were saying earlier, that they sort of feel like they're not really prepared to be parents, as it were. They seem of that sort of the hippie age, the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they need the help of the wiser older people to sort of get them through this.
And she's the only reason, particularly Poltergeist 3, is remotely bearable if you want to watch it or own it for sort of trilogy completist reasons. What she does in that role. She almost becomes friends with Kane. You know, I won't spoil it in case you haven't seen the third one. It is on Netflix at the moment.
Is it? Oh, I might have to.
It's got a great score. The end credits.
Is that Goldsmith as well?
No, it was. I don't know if it was some random.
I know Goldsmith did the second one, didn't he? But
yeah.
Probably...
And there's a piano motif at the end of that film. It's a beautiful score, and it does have some good in-camera effects, like lots of use of mirrors. Using cameras with mirrors is always dodgy, but they get around it, and it's very effective in that way. But yes, Zelda Rubinstein sells it.
Well, she was the one who had said about sort of Toby Hooper's kind of drug habit at the time.
Yeah, she says the 6 days she was on set, he was chemically
Well,
vacant.
on Life Force, they said they complained a lot that Toby Hooper was constantly smoking cigars, but drinking non-stop Dr. Pepper to keep himself like...
That was me. That was me at that time.
Keep him awake. Maybe he got off the coke and is now on Dr. Pepper. And sort
or he was
substitute that.
Free basing, is that word? Whatever it was. Dr. Pepper, sort of chopping it up and snorting it. It doesn't always get noticed in this film as well. The dialogue, the script is very good. It's such a hammy premise doing a haunted house movie, whatever the era, whatever the effects you've got in your toolbox. But you need this grounding. You need, and the dialogue here is, I think it's quite beautiful. I always like how these
slightly
scenes
poetic
work
about
out.
her description of the afterlife. And then she's simplifying this information for these people to understand what is actually going on, and them not to be confused or just sort of feel alienated. Because the father is completely still like, now he's getting into it. He's getting, once the threat is being discussed, he's like completely into it. But it was great when she says the beast to Carol Ann, it's another child talking to her.
That's creepy as
fuck. That is
fuck.
creepy as fuck. Yeah. It's basically Damien or something next to her sort of saying, no, don't do this, don't do that,
I mean, there's a documentary. They get back the ones that are surviving, all these child stars, like the guy that played Damien. Obviously, Poltergeist ones aren't with us now. Yeah, they go. Yeah, that I remember that. That was horrible. Still is. Again, there's rarely a frame in this movie where there's not a TV screen in the background or a monitor.
It's this kind of lock and load moment.
Yeah. Yeah, she's off. Now, maybe the beast is Billie Jean King, because tennis balls are going to distract her. We'll put tennis balls in, that'll distract. See, another monitor doesn't have to be there, but there's just monitors everywhere.
Yeah, it's the modern equivalent now will be our mobile phone, just everywhere.
Can you imagine being on the set of this film? You wouldn't know what's set and what's what the camera team is.
It's a VT camera. Is this a plate for playback?
Yeah, I bet there's some ones that have been left accidentally that shouldn't have been there.
And this film as well doesn't rely on jump scares as a way to
it builds
you out.
Because you care for the characters. I mean, you care from the point you're seeing them being silly, having a joint, or trying to dish up their kids' breakfast. If you care for characters, you will accept the ridiculous story world they get thrown into.
Yeah, and that's something that's really it's unfortunate with the horror genre itself, where there's a point also with slasher films, you're kind of rooting for the bad guy to hack up all these fucking teenagers who are getting up to and getting into all sort of naughty business, whatever. But even things like with the Alien films, you care about the characters. You don't want them to die. And when they try and redo the new films, you don't care about the human characters, apart from like the odd one or two. But it's a sort of fundamental problem, I think. that sort of hasn't been ironed out yet.
There's a whole slew of movies. I mean, I talk about it in my last book, but you look at films like Silkwood, which Craig T. Nelson's in as well, and Mask. They have that sort of that Richard Donner verisimilitude of just. It doesn't matter what's going on, whether it's a disfigured kid or a nuclear scandal or a house haunting. These films got it so right in a way that cinema doesn't always do now, because the genre takes over often. But here it's the characters, and that's a real Spielberg thing. I wouldn't say Tobe Hooper perhaps had great history of characterization. His films tend to be about the event rather than the character. So that you could say that this is very much a Spielberg story and stamp in that respect.
It's a difficulty of balancing tone, isn't it? Tone is very difficult to sort of get right, and it can all be ruined by one drawing performance or how it's edited, or even the musical cues. So with this, Spielberg's always been very good at sort of getting the tone right, and it's very rare for him to sort of trip up.
And it never drags. I mean, you were saying, gosh, this film's 2 hours. I don't think it drags.
Horrors should be, most were 90 minutes. You can push about an hour 40. This moment here, it's a little bit slow. Its editing and its execution, because it's slowing down the drama, as it were, the suspense, and it should be a little bit quicker. Because if it feels like they're running out of time, and they need to save Carol Ann quickly, but this is very, very slow. She has to kiss her husband, just sort of thinking this could be the last time she sees him or whatever, and then it's very slowly walks into the portal. I think it should be greater urgency to it all.
And the Spielberg wall of lights. There's
so many films.
Yeah,
of this, isn't it?
I wish he'd do that. I wish he'd do a sort of domestic film, a sort of fantasy. I'd love to see him just go back. I mean, he's got a few unfinished projects that he always wanted to do. One's I can't remember, it's called Home Ties or something like that, where he wants to go back and do a domestic drama about kids and families. I'd love to see him do that.
But I think it's always, for Spielberg, I'd always love if he ever returns to doing science fiction again, or something of this nature, then I'll be like, I'd happily go watch it. But it's also, this is young Spielberg.
Exactly. This is I think he said this, that he wouldn't do a film like E.T. or Poltergeist
he's a different person
because he's a parent.
Yeah.
He's been a parent.
And that showed, I think, with the last Indiana Jones, was that it's not the Spielberg we kind of we knew in '89. That was it. '89 was saying goodbye to that era of Spielberg, and then the new comes in.
Utterly agree on that.
With Jurassic Park and Schindler's List, really kind of, and Saving Private Ryan is those.
That's the new second wave,
kind of thing.
Well, I think his stuff's
more
where he's at now is a good place. I mean, Ready Player One, I really like, just for its kinetic mainstream retroness. But The Post, I think The Post is one of Spielberg's best movies. It's certainly one of his 10 best. And there is a restraint. It's the restraint of a guy in his 70s making a movie about veterans trying to break that important news story. But it's beautifully framed and shot. And I'd love to see him. That's why if he does West Side Story, I think that's a great idea, because his film's in a really good place. There's a real command of the frame and the sense of camera movement, which potentially would be great in a musical like West Side Story.
I mean, it's like Hook itself is it's a Spielberg film I love, and he doesn't like it at all. He can't sit through. After the first act, he tunes out. He can't.
Yeah, that and Temple of Doom are the ones he sort of feels embarrassed by, and I'm like, I love Hook. I think, and Temple of Doom's great because it's a little bit grimmer. It's a bit dark. I mean, I suppose Raiders did it, but in Indiana Jones, it's more about haunting. There's scope there, because I don't know what they're going to. Who knows what they're going to do for late 60s, early 70s Indiana Jones movie.
I mean, I still wish they did like this. I think there's a video game Indiana Jones, like the City of about Atlantis.
Fate of Atlantis or something. Yeah.
That would have been really cool. Because Frank Darabont wanted to do, I think, wrote a script and George Lucas didn't like it. But
oh, it's really Goldsmith. You can hear the
yeah,
the Alien, Chinatown, Capricorn 1.
That's right. That's that romantic kind of.
He was
fiction
just
sound.
slightly less
Very lush.
original than John Williams, I think. But Jerry Goldsmith, there's so many films, if you look at his CV, not Poltergeist not included, but Poltergeist 2 maybe, where he did slightly not great films on paper, but gave them really great scores.
Oh yeah,
and sensed, like, I think Poltergeist 2 is probably saved by Jerry Goldsmith and the family, the cast.
Weird thing is, Jerry Goldsmith is like a composer's composer.
Yeah.
All the composers adore him.
Yeah.
And they put him more so than Williams, but then Goldsmith will say, well, Williams is the best composer, then Williams will say Goldsmith was the best composer. Yeah. They just, I think Williams has had more hits under his belt. He was just because he teamed up with Lucas and Spielberg, Spielberg predominantly. But Goldsmith just did, if you couldn't get Williams, you get Goldsmith. That was kind of one of
and
those
if you can't
things.
get either, we'll get
Bill Conti or
Silvestri.
Silvestri, yeah. Because I thought to myself, because Ghostbusters deals with slime, and this has got slime in it as well. Ectoplasm, whatever. And now she's being possessed by the beast.
Oh yeah, there's just that almost like Gremlins here, where that flickering shadow work.
See, this. I think how Michael Kahn, because Spielberg's frequent editor, it's a little bit traditional with its pacing here. It needs a little bit more energy, I think. Possibly.
I like that it's all happening in the wings of the house and the film. We don't quite see. I mean, that's when we see the underworld or whatever it's called in or the other side in Poltergeist 2. It's slightly disappointing, and it is like a cloud tank melange.
Now, this is the moment.
I'm having no knocks on this.
Yeah, this is a great
this hydraulic skeleton.
I
head.
love that. Yeah, it's Evil Dead did it wonderfully because Bruce Campbell just goes grey when he sees that monster come out.
Right,
you see a big grey streak go and appear in his hair. But
she gets her Bride of Frankenstein flick.
Well, you could have had a great comedy moment if his character, the dad, had a toupee and it flew off at that point when he saw the skull out the door.
This is why you've not been asked to do Poltergeist 4. Oh, there was Poltergeist 4, wasn't it? It was like a TV.
Was it? Or are you thinking of Omen?
No, I'm thinking Omen 4.
Yeah,
they did it. They did the Legacies.
And Psycho 4 had a TV kind of movie, wasn't it?
Yeah,
or was it actually
Henry...
a film?
Hang on, I'm getting my factoids mixed. I want to say Henry Thomas played him.
Was it a young Bates?
Yeah, it doesn't. I know Olivia Hussey played the mother. I remember that.
They're covered in slushy, aren't they? It's also that she doesn't. We know Carol Ann doesn't remember what happened, but the mother. There's no comment on what was it like going through that into the other world. There was just this. Was it just a quick, brief thing where you just pass through the light, then come out the bottom? This house is clear.
There's a clever humour to this film as well, with like this moment right now. She's like utterly wind machine dishevelled.
Yeah, she's trying to make herself look a bit glamorous there.
How many mainstream films today would have two veteran actresses? All right, we're not quite at the end. It's not finished. That's not the finale.
Because you think, okay, this is going to be the end now. It's all like they're tying things up. They're going to be moving away. And then when you know it's still going on, when they're sort of in the bedroom and then when she goes to the shower, think, okay, right, okay, this is not the end.
Yeah, because the false end, not many films have done that to the degree that this film does. Now, so many films don't know how to end and just keep ending. There's, the Marvel films, particularly the Avengers ones, they half the film is them ending. It's like, just end already.
Return of the King, I always give a pass
that's one
having,
as well,
having
yeah.
multiple endings. I don't, it's fine with me,
But Poltergeist started that.
Did you say sort of punk, did you say?
Yeah.
That was kind of the creeping in of what was going on
Yeah.
at the time, with the cool kids.
Love that 70s. Look at the sort of pointed roofs. It's
The wood age.
Yeah. Timber. when pine ruled the world.
Even the VCRs had wood panelling, on the side.
See, I don't know if I'd had chairs that were moved by poltergeists and creatures from the underworld. I don't know if I'd take them with me. I'd maybe I'd put them on eBay or something.
Possibly haunted chair.
Yeah, possibly haunted wicker kitchen sets.
Buy a scene, buy it now.
22 Sony monitors. One careful owner.
Good for playing back old games consoles. There you go.
I wonder what audiences felt, sort of when they saw it at the cinema. What those sort of checking their watches, thinking, "Is it over? Are we, are we going to have a song and dance number? Is a chainsaw going to turn up? Or what's going to happen?"
I remember my mother. She said she saw The Exorcist at the cinema, and it was, like everyone said, I think at the time, it was this terrifying movie. Everyone, it was. I don't think there was a single person who didn't find it scary. But it's often strange going back to these movies that were classified one of the scariest films. I never grew up with The Exorcist. Also, it was banned in the UK for a while. But I saw it. I thought it was a very well made film. It was a good film, but I didn't think it was as scary as possibly what Mark Commode had been selling me for so long.
For 42 documentaries, yes. Yeah. Sorry, Mark Commode. Other Mark Commodes are available. No. I saw it in '98 when it had the re-release, when it had sort of been unbanned, and they were pushing.
They did
out.
show it in the cinema, didn't they?
And I saw it at the local Odeon, and I remember there was this awkward laughter and silliness, but it was a film that had a great brooding, building tension. There was something unpleasant about it.
It was seeing the quick flash frame of the devil's face in the kitchen. I was like, oh, what was that?
It's a great film about Catholicism. People always say, what are the films about Catholicism? I was raised a Catholic, not anymore, but and I always say Life of Brian, because it gets it more right than not, and The Exorcist. The Exorcist is about the guilt, and Life of Brian's about the story.
It's always, because Commode would always drive Simon Mayer up the wall, and he just brings up The Exorcist every time. He's like, oh God. I do it with my audience as well. If I bring up Superman, they're like, oh, Oliver, roll the eyes.
I'm the same with The View to a Kill. Like the only View to a Kill apologist in the room.
Amazing. John Glenn said Roger Moore still had one more Bond film in him, didn't he? After he did View to a Kill. It's like,
I think that was more John Glenn probably trying to keep on the books. Did you see the Golden Retriever was copying a peak there?
Yeah.
There was a slow, I'm not looking upwards. I looked upwards.
So how about
right, still got the Darth Vader collector's case. We know our references. It's funny, I remember this being earlier in the film, not the beginning of the finale. That's the
weird thing, because I refreshed myself with this again. My girlfriend was like, where's the clown sequence? I was like, oh yeah, where is that? It's right at the end. They save the clown to the end. I think apparently the kid had complained that he was actually getting strangled, and they were like, "I'll go with it.
Just shut up."
They thought he was just acting, but then he started turning blue, and they were like, "Right, stop."
She's eating a Luke Skywalker figure.
Yeah.
Look, Carol Ann, this is why you get taken into closets. Put it down. That's collectible.
Headless toy as well. He's like, she's. What was that other? Oh yeah, it's like Newt. Newt has a babe, just a doll's head.
Yes. There's a lot of doll work in Poltergeist 2. The dolls sort of creaking around.
It's odd. It's also a weird lighting they've added in there. It's kind of it's kind of seedy red,
Yeah, it's sort of Ken Russell, sort of what's that like? Body heat red. That's not Ken Russell.
It's kind of red light district.
Yeah,
kind of red.
Because she's old lady and it's early 80s and she's naked. So.
Yeah.
What products she uses?
In the UK, it would be like Imperial Leather.
Yeah. So I'm not going to keep going back to the wicker chairs, but get rid of the fucking wicker chairs. It's not. Who knew? It's not actually the TV screen where this all kicks off. It's the wicker chairs. I'm trying to be really adult here and not jump. I'm not letting it get to me.
It always, yeah. I think the movie is most terrifying is kind of the end act now.
It's like the library ghost in Ghostbusters. That still gets me.
Yeah,
No, I looked away, actually. So that's fine. It didn't get me this time.
Under the bed as well.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think coming up now when she goes up the wall and stuff, it was a rotating set. It's not quite as effective as it is in Elm Street in 84.
Oh, okay.
That seemed a little... It seems... There's a point when she gets to the top where you can kind of tell that they've rotated the set and the way her hair's moving and stuff. It doesn't seem quite right.
I don't mean I like it, but it's the way she's trying to almost retain her dignity as well.
Yeah,
it's trying to like defrock her literally, and there's that sort of that's almost that's I don't know. I always found that just creepy. The sort of pervy ghost. I find this is one of the things that makes me think this is more Hooper than not. I mean, obviously the how it's actually fabricated and achieved is very Spielberg and ILM and very much part of that network of creatives. But suddenly this always reminded me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you've got the heroine getting scantily clad by the frame, left on her own as well, trying to sort of sort things out in corridors. And 2 days before this...
I love the kid, sorry, destroying the clown.
Right. Yeah, she's like, I've been here before... And I've got 2 more sequels to deal with. I am not getting bothered by this right now. Almost want the clown just to have a final bitch slap. Just get one in like there. Like just,
There's a snot coming through the door.
But I found this interesting letter that Spielberg wrote to Tobe Hooper on the 2nd of June, 1982. And that was 2 days before it came out in America. And it went, Dear Toby... Regrettably, some of the press has misunderstood the rather unique creative relationship which you and I shared throughout the making of Poltergeist. Emphasis on shared there. I enjoyed your openness in allowing me, as a producer and a writer, a wide berth for creative involvement, just as I know you were happy with the freedom you had to direct Poltergeist so wonderfully. Oh, this does sound like someone slightly sending a sort of sorry letter. Through the screenplay, you accepted a vision of this very intense movie from the start, and as the director, you delivered the goods. You performed responsibly and professionally throughout, and I want to wish you great success on your next project. Let's hope that Poltergeist brings as much pleasure to the general public as we experienced in our mutual effort here. Sincerely, Steven Spielberg, 2nd of June, 82.
Loves and kisses.
Yeah, loves and kisses. I don't know, 2 days before the release of the film came out, I would maybe have phoned or gone for dinner or lunch. So they probably didn't, I don't know, end the film on let's do this maybe again terms.
Yeah.
But I'm these, as I say, the urban myths or the suburban myths of this movie, including the fact that a lot of these are meant to be real corpses. I'm not sure about that.
It's just a lot of the actors and stuff had sort of publicly said, hadn't they? There'd been so many times that that was... Yeah. Spielberg was very much in control. But then, because they said, like, even... I think the Directors Guild had tried to investigate and didn't find anything.
But he was also prepping and shooting E.T., so I doubt... but he's a workaholic and he probably juggled the two. And the two films are so aligned. I think in lots of ways they're two sides of the same Spielberg coin.
Yeah.
The cast would hang out. There's great photos of Drew Barrymore and Heather O'Rourke sort of goofing around with Robert McNaughton and Henry Thomas sort of in the streets of E.T.
This was this made good money.
Yes.
It was just everything that year was dominated by ET.
$77 million, apparently, according to my notes.
That's US domestic.
Yeah, and initially as well. It's odd. I'd never see them as a family that would have a pool, but the whole film there's one being built that never gets finished.
Yeah. So he still refuses to help, doesn't he? He just like...
This is revenge for the ball game. Sort of TV interference episodes. Yeah.
Oh no, it's already happened, doesn't it? Because and she gets flying back. This is I love. Also, she's playing the whole drawers kind of zoom in and rack out, whatever, or vice, other way around. But I just love Jerry's score here. It builds and builds up. Drums kick in.
The sets were pretty magnificent on this film, like massive, and obviously all the bits that have to, revolve and twist about.
It's a ginormous mouth.
Yeah, and be careful, you might lose the mannequin Carol Ann here. But the legs are just sort of buckling up and down. Look, that is not a real person.
It has this kind of weird little tentacle come out, doesn't it? But it's very slow with its movement as it tries to grab.
It's a Sarlacc ghost pit, I think. Well, recut. God, it's a real big score as well. You wouldn't maybe get that so much in a horror.
No, because
at this moment,
they'd probably find it like, it's too cheesy, it's too old school.
Yeah,
can't have that. They'd actually probably pull out a lot of the music here, just rely on the sound effects.
Yeah, there's a real discordant score, and it's not overly sort of melodic and theme based.
Well, yeah, sounds like someone's playing Space Invaders.
Yeah,
do sort of
probably every light in Culver City was probably put onto this set right now. Again, it's like E.T. that the drama of the film is told through light.
Do you like my hair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Now, the sequel slightly ruins this because none of the people that allegedly died on this property or this plot of land ever got as far as coffins because they were just shut in a cave waiting for Judgment Day.
Yeah.
So slightly it retcons itself in the second one. But as I say, I don't mind the second one. I think it's a fine 80s horror.
Did Spielberg produce that one? I don't think he did.
He may have from afar. The two guys that co-wrote it were more involved with just the next two. I think he probably got character credit. Done by Brian Gibson, who's a British director. He did Breaking Glass, which is great. Phil Daniels, Hazel O'Connor, sort of early 80s punk movie. He died young, but he did What's Love Got to Do with It and Still Crazy.
Oh, Stir Crazy.
Yeah. Still Crazy, not Stir Crazy. Still Crazy, the one with Timothy Spall and Billy Connolly.
Right.
Late 90s.
Intense key action.
Yeah.
Suspense.
Oh. Oof.
I suppose with more kind of cynical people, they're like, this is a great spooky house.
And bearing in mind what happened to poor Dominique Dunn not long after this film, the fact she's clearly been out with a boy and boyfriend is there's a sort of foreboding about that.
And her neck looks marked in red bits there.
Don't. We're having no
it's weird
theories here. But I quite like that they've left all the neighbours that didn't care and didn't help. They've left that carnage and chaos and dropping house prizes to the neighbours. We're off. We're out of here.
Right. Blasts the owner, doesn't it?
And this house is a real house. It's owned by real people now. just imagine being the estate agent showing them round, going, and you are aware of this house's history. It's not actually been haunted, but it is one of the most haunted.
It's in Poltergeist.
Yeah, it's a cinematically haunted film. I'd buy it. I'd live there. Quite an intricate shot for the time. I think that whole effect.
There was a lot of miniature wires and things like that, and like a vacuum thing, sort of, and then they shot it as well, and it all happened within the space of 2 seconds. Shot with a Hossie high frame rate, I presume, with a high frame rate.
Yeah,
and
then slow it down.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy how they did that.
Questa Bird, we'll miss you.
This is a bit alien here. It's like a slight change of the notes.
Also, that slight feeling that not there's going to be loads of sequels, but that this story hasn't finished.
No.
It's a bit like when Alien ends.
It doesn't feel like this is the definitive ending.
It's a pause, like we've had enough, we're going to end now, but we know this is not all of it.
Yeah. It's a weird how it ends with the end credits, that there's music with little children singing. La, la, la. I thought it was a bit weird. There
was a difference. I think Jerry Goldsmith had done a song for Carol Ann. Like Carol Ann's theme had lyrics.
That's right, and I think they actually use it on this. At the end credits here now. But
I don't know about you, but children's singing, and I mean that's Elm Street. It's classic.
It's supposed to be sort of children's lullaby sort of thing. That's kind of makes it creepy. When you hear it though, it sounds a little bit like Christmas.
Yeah, it's a bit Home Alone. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I got it somewhere, and I've heard it. I still find it just creepy. I just find that music creepy. No, and the wicker chairs. If there's any wicker,
get rid of the wicker.
Or faux pine, chuck that out as well. It's not just the TV set. Well, I think it's a masterful film. I think it is my favourite horror. Maybe just for sort of retro, nostalgic 80s kid reasons, and the fact it says a Steven Spielberg production on it in great, big, thick white letters.
It's hard to say in terms of 80s horror. It's one of my favourites. It's always a difficult sort of balancing act. I still American Werewolf is probably one of the most.
It's more of a vociferous film. It's more of a stronger
because of its balance of horror and comedy. Also Evil Dead 2 as well. But there's so many great horrors. But this one, it takes itself very seriously. I think it obviously does play with a little bit of humour, sort of lighten the sort of the atmosphere. In terms of obviously being very, it's very consistently polished throughout. It's consistently good. I don't really fault it. I think over time it's not as scary as it probably once was. But as a sort of side piece to E.T. at the time, I think it's just as strong. I think 82, so many great movies came out that year, and so many good ones got pushed by the wayside.
It's ridiculous. Like The Thing got less noticed because of everything that was around it. All these films that are stunning.
Blade Runner as well. And it's these movies could have been more successful, but it was just so much product out there. Compete. As you were saying earlier, came out at the same time as Star Trek 2. And if this didn't come out same week as Star Trek 2, that probably would have made more money. Just kind of splitting the box office, isn't it, really?
Implosion Men. Interesting.
There's some great surnames for kicking around here. I saw one last night. What was it? Beth Nuffer. That's a good one. Conrad Buff. That's well, he's an editor. He edited Terminator 2, I think, with Mark Goldblatt and stuff. Comstock. Here we go.
No, that's...
Yeah, so I mean, as you were saying earlier, it's got a kind of interesting sequel. It's not a complete write-off, but the third one is.
Because there's story and background in the sequel, it sort of holds. It doesn't have the jumps and in showing more creatures that have got a little more thought, maybe not budget, but more thought in it. I think it erodes it. I think it worked.
It was just a Giga thing at the end. With
Yeah.
this big sluggish turd in this dimension.
It goes for sort of biological horror rather than sort of supernatural floating spectres. Novelisation written by James Caan, the king of novelisations.
Did he
by
do
the way.
the Star Wars one?
I think he did Jedi.
Yeah.
Used to have some of his books.
I've got a couple by William something. What was his name?
Cotswinkle.
Yeah,
he did E.T.
He got the Superman 3 one of his.
Yeah. And Joan,
actually pretty good book.
Joan Da Vinci. I mean, I'm looking at a shelf in there that I've got a lot of those books, like the Gremlins one. Anyway, there we go, from MGMUA.
Well, everyone, that is the end of the commentary. Hope you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it, Mark?
I did very much so, yes.
Excellent. Well, hopefully Mark will be back with us soon. We can do some, possibly some James Bond commentaries or anything that comes.
Yes,
anything Mark can think of in the near future.
Is it as the Care Bears movie retrospective? Are we there yet? Are we there? No,
I don't know.
No, it's too soon.
Is there an audience for, I'm sure there's still an audience for Care Bears.
I jest.
They're joking. Well, everyone, take care, and I'll catch you all next time.